Greetings everyone, welcome to my sketchbook. So this weekend, this Sunday, is going to be Mother's Day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear a sheet out of my sketchbook here. Let's get rid of these perforated edges here as well. The plan is to use this paper to make a Mother's Day card. Okay, so I'm going to figure out roughly what size I want it to be. So I'm going to make it a little bit smaller than this this page. I'm going to do a little bit of a fold there. See if I can get it to tear, and if not, we're going to clean up the edges anyway. All right, set that other piece aside. Simply fold that over now. So it's going to be a short, adorable card. Just like that. Okay. Now here's the idea that I have in my head. This is just like a backing piece of paper that I put in behind each page that I do. So I'm just going to kind of leave that there. I'm going to tilt this just a little bit more like that so it doesn't slide around. I have some acrylic markers, and with that I'm going to pick out color here. Set this aside over here. All right. Look at that. I posted the cap on the end of that thing just because I do that kind of stuff. All right, well, let's zoom in on this so that you can kind of see what I'm up to. We'll focus on that a little bit. I'm a big fan of mothers. Now, mothers don't actually have to be the person who carried you. You should never deny that person who did, though. So even if you have a strained relationship with your mother, even if, let's say you were born by surrogacy, you know, like somebody else carried you for sake of the person who's raised you may not have been able to do that. Don't deny the person who carried you. That ability to grow another human being is so extraordinary. That's like, it's exceptional. There will come a day, I'm sure, when we will not have the need for humans to do that anymore. That'll be kind of unfortunate. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future. But as of right now, humans are carried by other humans. And so yeah, don't deny the existence of who did that remarkable thing. I'm going to say something that's kind of controversial, and I wasn't planning on saying anything like this because, I mean, I'm a dude who doesn't have that ability to carry a child. I personally, let me see what other colors I have here. Let's go with pink next. What was I getting at? Oh yeah, something controversial. I'm under the impression that human beings have to figure out certain things of what they want out of life on this planet, because we're not doing a great job of looking out for each other. What's that have to do with mothers and Mother's Day and stuff like that? Well, as I kind of was saying a little bit before there, we will probably get to the point where we don't really need humans to incubate another human. They're working on this now, and that's kind of unfortunate. But maybe it makes life easier in some ways. Um, Here's the controversial part. I don't know if I would truly say that childbirth is a miracle. I think what the miracle truly, and maybe you'll see where I'm going with this. Um, I think the miracle takes place when you stitch or add a human soul to a physical body. I think that's the miracle. I think that your soul is almost like another thing from another dimension. So to have that added to our plane of existence, the body's plane of existence, that 3D thing that we live in here now, I think that's the miracle. Uh, I kind of worry about how AI exists right now because heaven forbid you have the ability to implant a chip in someone's head, and heaven forbid you have that ability to download information, upload information from said chip, and maybe have the ability to control uh, parts of the body. So if you think of like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, for example, uh, and you hear about Frankenstein uh, reanimating a body, is there a possibility that you could implant a chip, let's say, in the skull of something that you put together or somebody that had passed? But at some point, they were able to upload their personality of sorts, their memories, their journaling, their social media, that sort of thing, and reanimate uh, that body. So right now, they have the means by which to have an ability to talk to someone who had passed and have their likeness, have some of the features that uh, you would recognize as being that person. And this would be AI controlled. You could have it so that it would be in some ways password protected, so that certain information wouldn't be passed along to certain people. So, I mean, if it was your mother, for example, like my mother passed away like a decade ago, uh, you could have the ability to have a conversation with that person and would recognize you as being the child of that. So, using that programming, um, you might have the ability to continue conversations, get advice, um, introduce them to new members of your family. I don't know if there's a benefit to doing that. I think one of the things that makes human life so valuable, or we should consider that human life is so valuable, is because our time is limited on this planet. Like, it's not infinite. And if we go about finding ways for some version of immortality, it's not going to be us. So I suppose that's where I'm going with this kind of like sort of controversial thing. I don't think that that thing that they're aiming at, the singularity or whatever you want to call that, that's not going to be us. It's not going to be your consciousness uploaded to a mainframe somewhere, digitally stored, able to communicate your wishes and that sort of thing. It's a journal, and it might be an interactive one, but it won't be you. So that soul, that thing that helps to animate your body, if it's not there, then it's not you. You're very important. It's necessary to keep that in mind. You're very purposeful in being here. So that digital thing, yeah, no, I don't consider that to be a human. So anyway, well, there's my sort of controversial thing going on there. Now, let's see here. Mothers, what remarkable creatures. Oh, and here's another thing. Don't downplay fathers either. Same thing if you, even if you had a strained relationship with your father, the concept of who that person is kind of remarkable. I'm going to open up my inkwell here beside me. And I'm going to add some detail while that's drying, and then we'll flip over the page. Of our little card. Yeah, the person that you call mom. This is a remarkable thing. I don't mean like referring to your mother as a thing. I just mean the thing that's remarkable is the person you call mom. The phrase. We should be so lucky to keep the ones we love forever. And in some ways, so long as you remember and care for what they brought in this world for you, then in that way you keep them alive. But life is precious because it's fleeting, because it's finite. I just think we need to kind of keep that in mind. I can recall strange things. In a lot of ways, I do worry about my memory. So I try to exercise it as much as possible. And that's sort of one of the reasons why I have this YouTube channel. You know, for the 5 or 6 people that might watch this, this may exist after I'm no longer on the planet. And then they have a means by which to hear me ramble on about whatever kind of stuff. So it's kind of a journal. Now, I would hate to find out that somewhere, all this information is being compiled, and they're building another version of me somewhere just based on my voice. You'll hear people talking about the algorithm. You hear people talking about the AI training systems and whatnot. Yeah. So all I'm doing right now is I'm kind of adding in little bits of detail to this sort of angry looking bird. Feathering some little bits and pieces on the beak. Now this isn't modeled after any bird in particular. This is just what was sitting inside my head. It almost looks like an ostrich or something like that. Here, I'm going to put in some of this purple, and then we'll outline that as well. So this weekend, Sunday, Mother's Day, and for that matter, any day, it's good for you to celebrate mothers everywhere, and not just your own, but celebrate mothers everywhere. Again, you don't have to downplay the role of what fathers could mean. That's not the point. You might say, well, isn't it strange that a child's first words or first word is an acknowledgement of their mother? I'm not saying that fathers can't be nurturing. But mothers. There is such a thing as a child who doesn't really have a mom. Sometimes you might lose that person in your life, and you don't automatically become like Batman or whatnot. I don't know, that was a thing, wasn't it, at one point, that what makes a good superhero is that they may no longer have parents. But maybe that's one of those things where you're like, well, if you don't have a loved one, it gives you the freedom to do certain things without having to worry about them. Right here we're going to say just seeing if I got any ink on me. Let's try a different color maybe. Oh, maybe not. We'll just say now, it may seem obvious. I don't follow a script. I don't really plan when I sit down to draw. Mainly in my sketchbook. To me, it's more about like trying to figure out stuff anyway. So I kind of do things a little bit strange, I think. Right here, I have this little wing. Hey, here's something else controversial. I think baby birds look kind of gross. It's not their fault. You know, they don't usually just, I don't know. Sometimes babies, you do your very best to just acknowledge that they're a beautiful gift, and you just go on about your day. I was not I mean, I'm still not, but I'm far more charming than I am good looking. But anyway, I was not a good looking baby. If you look at my profile, you'll see a picture of me when I'm approximately 5. So I'm doing the best that I can. But you know, you run out of cute sometimes. Anyway, this poor creature is doing the best that they can. Okay. Gonna have the body a little bit darker here. I'm fortunate that my mother-in-law is a remarkable person, and that Yeah, so that's good. Okay, so that's what I have going on there. On the inside now, I think that needs to dry a little bit, and then I can come back and actually I'll just see if I can do a little bit of it here now. Just like a little fuzzy stuff going on here. Chicken wing. It's not a chicken, but whatever this is, a non-existent bird-like thing. Little bits of down on it. Baby bird making demands. Here's something else that I wasn't planning on saying. I don't like chicken wings. I generally don't eat meat off the bone. So there you go. There's something else for the AI to acknowledge, and when they're building another version of me. So okay. Right. Let's go to the next. Oh, you know what? Let's. Okay. These types of markers are fun. You kind of have to figure out where you want stuff to be, though, in a way, just because of how you might be able to layer certain things in. But I certainly like an acrylic marker. I mean, if you understand any part of brush control, then these are wondrous devices. Now, did I mention that I think that baby birds are kind of gross looking? Yeah, I think I did. That's what I have going on here. Just little messy things. As I said, even if you have a strained relationship with your mother, acknowledge your existence, even if some part of that is strained. Do your best to see that you're here for a purpose, even if it is to smile, even if it is to share some part of the experience with other people that you've had in your difficulties. Now let's see here. So here we are, just around 30 minutes of me rambling on. Now, if you do make your own card, of course, you don't have to make it like this. This is just a fun thing that I'm doing. Chances are, depending on what's going on, your mom might keep it for more than, a week. That shouldn't be the goal. My own mother, if I gave her a card that I picked up at the dollar store or whatever, unless I wrote something in it or did a drawing in it or something like that, she would barely acknowledge that thing. Not out of cruelty, it's just like I think she recognized effort. When I was a kid, dollar stores didn't really exist. That's kind of a new development, really, in the last maybe 30 some odd years. There was just like the section of, well, like depending on where you grew up, Kmart or Zellers, where they had things that were a little more, well, let's just say they were inexpensive. So a dollar store was not really a thing until we had them. And then, of course, that's when you got to see stuff for $1. Now, dollar stores are, $5, that kind of thing. So while that's drying, and I'm going to add a little bit of purple to that. These are just this is like a rough idea thing. This isn't really meant to be a template for, doing things the way that I'm doing things. Do things as you see fit doing them. Dollar stores. The existence of such things is a strange thing to me. I feel like in some ways, in order to get things to us at those prices, somebody kind of has to be exploited in some way, or it has to be an automated process. So, it has to be like a machine-made thing. I could be wrong in saying that, but in order to get things cheap, you have to make them cheap. And sometimes that cheap comes at a cost. So, like if you want something handmade, like as you can see right now, we're just under 35 minutes in on this. If you were to go buy a card that took someone 35 minutes to make, it probably cost more than $1. Or in the very least, it probably should cost more than $1. But anyway, people are funny. Let's put a little hint of... No, we don't need to put any yellow in there. Yeah, we're funny. We want things inexpensive, but we don't realize the cost of what inexpensive really is. You know, you want those shoes, you want that cool name brand something or other, but you don't want to pay, you know, for that handmade kind of part of it. Well, you can get it handmade, but chances are it's not being made ethically. That was a kind of a big thing in the 80s and 90s. They don't really talk about it that much anymore, though. The concept of a sweatshop. You know, like if you went into Kmart or Walmart or whatnot, you didn't really know how something was manufactured. And it became this badge of honor to tell people that, you know, this product was made in the good old country that it's being sold in. And then you found out later on that within that country there was a place where that thing was being manufactured by people that were indentured in some way. And sometimes there'd be a celebrity that would be attached to it, and they didn't really know. They just figured, okay, well, whatever the techniques they were using in the manufacturing, they were doing things the most efficient way possible. Now, maybe some of them kind of knew, but you don't really hear about sweatshops so much anymore. I think it's because those things they are now made in other places where there's a different kind of standard of living, maybe. And yeah, there's a willingness for people to do things with their citizens a little bit differently. So I'm just adding in those little flecks of shade, maybe, little flecks of strange detail. Take away from some of the harsh lines here. I think one of the greatest gifts that you can get from a parent is the ability to be independent, to fly on your own. Now, I don't know if modern day parents go out of their way to teach their kids how to light fires or to clean a fish, break down a chicken, you know, cook for themselves. I think we've relied too much on readily available processed things. I just don't know if kids really get into that. So I encourage you, if you haven't been set up to do this with your parents, learn how to do these things. I'm going to this next and add in a little bit of purple, which I should have done a little bit ago. Then I'll outline it, and then we'll let this come to an end. So if you get a chance, get a look through my my silly videos. Leave a comment. Subscribe if you wish. You can, like even the long form stuff, there's some pretty wacky things I probably say, and I don't really, I'm not trying to ruin anyone's day, but I just kind of dump out my brain. A little bit there, a little bit there. We'll do a quick outline of that. Now it's probably a little bit wet in certain spots, but I'll try to stay away from that. You might have a teacher that also kind of represents that to you. Teachers are awesome. And sometimes we treat them a little bit like babysitters. For many teachers, this was something that they've wanted to do since they were children. It's a profession, I think, that people don't really acknowledge as being as important as it is. Maybe they do. I just sometimes wonder about how they're treated. As I said, I think sometimes they're looked at like babysitters. Like, so the government provides a means by which to have both parents leave the house and generate an income for taxation purposes. I don't think that's really the case, but anyway, let's say that's, you know, one of the things that the school system is supposed to do, and the school system is supposed to teach that child that, you know, to grow up and become a contributing member of the society that they live in. Teachers are awesome. I've had a lot of great teachers. Teachers that would encourage different abilities, I suppose, that, you know, I might have had. Like Mrs. Conley. I'm sure more than like 5 kids would have accidentally called her mom, for example. And I think that happens with, you know, a lot of the younger kids, because, you know, this is somebody that you see for a good chunk of your day, and they're the ones that, you know, they teach you stuff. Now, not all teachers are female. I think a lot of people in our lives are there for a very specific purpose. They're like guides along the way that hopefully teach you a little bit about independence and the ability to be a guide yourself. So for those of you who are out there and you are mothers, thank you very much for all that you do. You are remarkable. What we're going to do here now is we're just going to back this out a little bit, and we'll get a look at what horrible thing I've done here. So let's close this up. So here we have it. We have a little baby bird looking kind of miffed in some way. Let's let that focus a little bit. It just says, "Mom, I want a game system, e-scooter, Chuck Taylors, etc." And then when you open it up, it says thank you. This is just a baby bird getting fed. and yeah, that's as easy as, 46 minutes can be. Folks, I hope you have a great Mother's Day. Thanks for hanging out. Ciao for now.